Oh, Tika, this is Q&A. Oh, okay. All right.
It's more of a personal question, but I'm always, maybe sometimes worried, but I'm always interested in how scholars who are practitioners, it seems like a very difficult position to hold sometimes, and yet, like you or other scholars that have taught us that are fabulous practitioners, just can you talk about the difference and how you hold those things inside yourself and how those two feed or support each other or where they conflict?
I don't think they conflict if you're doing Tibetan Buddhism. I don't think they conflict because I don't think, as a scholar of that, you could know anything about how Tibetan Buddhism operates if you don't sort of know it from an insider's view. Now, Janet Gatso, who's wonderful, used to say to me, no, I don't want to know anything about the internal workings of it. No, I don't want to know anything about it. Now, more recently, last month, at a conference there, she said, I'm really good you took that leave from Wesleyan early on because I was wondering whether I'd stay in the field or not. But because you left and I took your position there, she decided to remain a teacher of it. And she's done, I once said, as at Wesleyan, we were interviewing a person via Skype for another job, and she asked just that question. Jan, how do you manage that? And I said to her, well, Tibetan Buddhism is sort of known as being an esoteric tradition, so you'd have to sort of know something from the inside in order to understand it at all. Otherwise, you could come up with sort of crazy stuff. So after the interview with this young woman who was in South America, my two colleagues said, one of them said, gee, Jan, that was a perfect answer you gave. As though I had to plan it, as though I wasn't speaking my truth. I was just answering her. So Janet wrote a piece on Chud, the rite of Chud, which began this line of there are violent things in Tibetan Buddhism. I said, come on, Janet. That's not what's going on in Chud practice. Well, you cut up the body and you offer it. That's kind of violent. And I said, no, it's just sort of shunyata-ish, Tompanid-ish, that's all, Getting rid of self was all. Visionary, imagine. But she and some other people were on that line for a while. And I said, no, that's not how it is. I mean, there's music, there's gates, there's ways of walking. It's very sensual to practice Chud. It's not just violent. Hack yourself up. Hack. There's my body. I'm going to hack it up. Feed it to the pretas. There's a lot more going on. Do you know what I'm talking about? Chud, that practice. Well, some scholars who don't have Tibetan teachers, who don't want Tibetan teachers because they want to remain objective, I'm suggesting to you, get that practice totally wrong. Because they don't have any inside instructions. So I've always known that with Tibetan Buddhism, you had to have some kind of inside knowledge. You couldn't stay away from lamas. Because you just might get things altogether wrong. I think Janet knows that well enough now. But the other thing was, I met Tibetans before I did this. And I was doing philosophy, and I wanted to know the languages so I could really do it, see what Buddhist philosophers were talking about. So my PhD was on Asanga's Tattvartha Patalam, the chapter on reality, from Bodhisattva Buddha. And I found it amazing that wasn't translated into English already. It wasn't. Any rate, so I don't think you can be, especially if you do this kind of Buddhism, because there are things that teachers tell you, and you wouldn't know otherwise, or you wouldn't see it that way otherwise. And I count myself fortunate that I met Lama and have that as much insight as I have. Tikaha. Now, Chuck Prebish, do you know his name? Charles Prebish, Penn State University. He's written a lot on Buddhism in America. Chuck published in a journal, Buddhist journal kind of piece. He said, I came out to my chair. I told him I was a Buddhist practitioner. And he wrote a memoir that says, since that day, my life has been miserable in academia. His life has been miserable in academia. He's written a memoir too. And then Chuck started writing articles that say, you know, if you look at all Theravadan Buddhist countries, there's a division between the monastics. Some are scholars, and some are forest tradition folk. Buddhism recognizes both, he says, but academia doesn't. Academia says absolutely not. You cannot be involved with, you can't have any affinity for, you can't have any feeling for the tradition you teach. And that's still the case. So yeah, I had some hard times. I was fortunate at Wesleyan because though most people were not, they couldn't figure out how to categorize me when it came to our self-studies. What do we call our, I think we should call Jan experiential or something. It wasn't a category, you know, other people were. But I usually found myself in senior place, and so I couldn't be dismissed so readily. You know, I was full professor. Two of them were associate, and the rest of them were assistant. So they had to go through me to get promoted, you know. But they didn't like it. It's not easy. I think, however, it's good for my students. So I've learned over the years. Oh. But yeah. Is that enough to say? Okay. He's been a little difficult. Still standing. Still all right.
I'm curious, have you ever thought of becoming a monastic?
Yes, I did. Early on. Oh. I was sent by Lama Yeshe once. Talk about feelings getting crushed, pride and humility. One day Lama Yeshe called me in, and my friends Randy and Robbie were there, and he had told us, you know, we were three Chiru. We were bound together by the Dharma. You know, we had Dharma bones. We were family. But one day he called me and he said, you speak Hindi. Go to India. Work with my teacher. He's a real wisdom being. Go to him. And that was because of my pride. When we, the three of us, first met Lama Yeshe, we were bowled over, and we had a wonderful first meeting. And you know, it was all sneaky, and Mami Zena didn't know, and Lama Yeshe called us in. We had this lovely meeting. And then afterwards, my two friends said, wow, he is so compassionate. He's so wonderful. And I said, compassion isn't everything. It's just everything I need. You know, it's like, because it was their first trip to India and Nepal. And I had met Tibetans. Hey, I knew lots of Tibetans, and they were all compassionate as far as I was concerned. So I said, it's not everything. How dare I? This was Lama Yeshe. I was 30. So that's the backstory. Then Lama Yeshe calls me in a few weeks later and he says, all right, you know India. You know, I had been in India, I had met Tibetans. He said, you know India. You know Hindi. I want you to go visit my teacher. He's the real wisdom being. No, Lama Yeshe knew everything. So, you know, in one sense, the pride came up and said, oh yeah, you know, compassion and everything. I'm going to go to the wisdom being. I'm a student. I need the wisdom being. So he sent me to Geshe Rabten. Oh, take a huh? This is really long in the story, so I wanted to take vows with Geshe Rabten. Anyway, get there, take a long excursion. On my way to see Geshe Rabten, stopped off, saw a friend in Benares, you know. So I arrive at Geshe Rabten's late, but I figured, how will he know? I'm not carrying it. You know, there was no letter, there was no phone call. I show up when I show up, right? I hope these lessons are meaningful for you. You know, I took a couple of days off, saw my friend Cletus, we went to a movie or something, you know, and then I got on the train, I went up to Dharamsala. Oh, so Gonzo Rinpoche arranges for me to meet Geshe Rabten. Geshe Rabten was in the middle of a retreat. You know, he was one of the two, he taught His Holiness too, so he was Geshe Rabten, you know. So he finally had some time off, he was in retreat. So why should he take time to see this Inzi, right? So they make arrangements, and I go to Geshe Rabten's retreat hut. And Geshe Rabten looks at me. I didn't get a chance to say a word. He gave me more Tibetan vitriol, I thought it was. I didn't know. It was so fast. He said, no. And Gonsa says, Geshe-la wants to know why you're late. I'm going, wow. How the heck does he know that? He wants to know why you're late. And I said, well, you know, he stopped off in Benares. At any rate, he still agreed to teach me. Just me for 6 weeks. Then I went back. And I thought, you know, I felt totally dejected when Lama Yeshe sent me away. You know, it's what I had asked for. So, that's what you want? Yeah. So he sent me away. And then when I came back after 6 weeks, I saw at the gates of Kopan, I looked down the way where Lama Zopa and Lama Yeshe were staying. And Lama Yeshe was coming from Zina's house into his room. He saw me and he looked away. Crushed. I've been gone for 6 weeks. Please welcome me back. He said, oh. So I tiptoe up to the room. I go up the steps and I see my friend's shoes there. And I get to the door. And Lama Yeshe, who never spoke to us like this, Lama Yeshe said, no. And I just fell over and sobbed. Because he said exactly what Geshe Rabten said. It was like, you dare sort of, you know, what you doing, playing? You weighing us off one against the other? He knew everything. And then Robbie wondering, what's happening? What did you possibly do? Huh. Then I said, you know, I sobbed, I cried for, you know, and towards the end when I could say something, I said, please take me. Please hold me, dear. Please take me as your student. Come on. Boy, that was a test, buddy. Oof. Be careful. Oh, the question was, have I ever considered becoming a nun? Sorry. So a second visit to Dharamsala, I asked Geshe Rabten if I could become a nun. And he said, well, you know, this is an important decision, but yes, if you'd like to, but first talk to this. I want you to talk with this monk. He'll tell you all that's entailed. And it just happened to be that it was a really kind of strict acting. I never met him, but sort of tight German monk who said, I don't know his name. I don't remember. It was such a negative encounter. I probably don't want to remember. But that monk said to me, I guess you're up to lunch, in some German, wants you to, so you need to know that you have to cut this. And I had a big fro. Did you have to cut this because it's a symbol of something? And I said, hey, wait. This is already a symbol of something. So my getting ready for it, I really thought I was going to, I really wanted somewhere deep. But I didn't want to shave my fro. I didn't want to get rid of that fro. And it wasn't so much that I was attached to the fro, was that I wanted to teach. And I thought, back in the States, a black woman in robes isn't going to get much purchase for teaching. So I better not do that. And I told Geshe-Rabten, I decided not to. Yeah. Phew, you take me back, these questions. And later my father said, daughter, you didn't become a nun while you were over there, did you? And I could truthfully say, no, Daddy. That's all I want to know then. Okay. All right. Nothing about any other vows he wouldn't know, Okay. That's all I want to know then. My dad was a great support, actually. Oh, yeah. No, so yes, I thought about it, yes. I don't know, given that the person's already a friend. I mean, the extent to which you think that way. There are some people who are, I think, there are some people who are even hate-filled people. This is, for such a person, to relate with them. Even Martin Luther King gives advice similar to the Buddha's on this, I think. He says, and Lama Pema in New York, I had occasion to go to him and say, there's this person, and she's hate-filled. What do I do? She wasn't a friend. All three, I think, say this. First, you have to realize that that negative emotion is in you, or you wouldn't recognize it. And I'm going, oh. Then, second, you should think, you need to recognize that that's not all of who they are. Especially if you're working on this friendship. That is not all of who they are. King said, you see a man in clan robes in front of you. The nuns in the video Satya see their Chinese captors. And they say that is not all of them. King said the person in the clan outfit knows how to go home, will go home, hug his wife, pick up his kids and kiss them. That's not all of who they are. So if you can recognize that, you can know that, there's bad in everybody, there's some good in everybody. Don't let one thing be the defining feature. Nobody is that simple. Then third, you have to figure out whether or not what they are doing is workable, is from your point of view is forgivable or not. And then can you work with it? Can you somehow, plenty of people here could give perhaps better advice than this. But the third step, I think, is when you realize that they are a human being who might be displaying negative actions or, making the atmosphere toxic, That's not all of who they are, and you can't, who were we saying that? Someone was saying it. You can't give up on them. Oh, you were saying it. Last night we were talking about not giving up on people. Everybody. You can't say you want to lead all these people to liberation except these two who make you angry, you know. King said, you may not have to like them, but you have to love them. You don't have to like them, but you got to love them because they're a human being. They're God's children too. I don't know. Somebody else might have some advice. It was meaningful to me. You don't have to like them, but you have to love them. You don't have to like the way they're manifesting. But you do have to recognize their equality with you. They're another human being, suffering human being. See if you can figure out some way to help. If you can, fine. If you can't, better leave it aside. Anybody else with some advice for Pam?
I agree with what Jan said. And you have to see how that person is influencing you. If that person is acting in very horrible ways, that that there's a weakness in you and you start acting like that, then you have to keep your distance.
Yeah.
Not because they're bad and they're wrong, but because you don't want to go down that slippery slope.
Shantideva says in Bodhicharya Avatar that when you think, you go through all these ways of thinking about how you could affect something or if you can. His Holiness the Dalai Lama said that you meditate. Well, you've decided you've taken these vows. He said, my two friends and I, when Kent State happened, we went to see His Holiness. He wanted to know all about. This was 1970 in Dharamsala. You know, when you could see Tenzing on the street at the market and say, "Oh, Tenzing La, can we see His Holiness?" And he would pull out his little notebook and he'd say, "Can you come tomorrow at 3?" You know, in those days when it was easy. So the three of us went in and we started to do prostration. And, come over on the couch, you know. So we thought, he's a giant because he seemed, you know, so huge. And the laughter came from someplace else, you know, and echoed all around. But he wanted to know, tell me, how do you experience what's happening in the States with these university students? What's going on? He wanted to know. And so we told him as best as we could. And he said, well, you've taken, you know, bodhisattva. So, hey, you've taken vows. And, so you have to train to be clear. I thought this conversation went on a long time. He talked to us for a couple of hours, I think, or more. But he said, you know, you've taken vows, so you should try to be clear about your actions. You need to be clear and calm about them. And he often quotes, even today, he often quotes verses from Bodhicharya Avatar. Many of the verses His Holiness quotes over and over again directly from this book. And he says, right, if I've learned anything about compassion, it's solely on the basis of this that I have. I mean, it's amazing, which, of course, he's being honest. But he said there were ways for us to move ahead if we had been clear, if we had been calm, if we had, after those two important things, chosen sides against police and their students, and we're on the side here, and their students and their police facing us. He said to the three of us, if you have made that choice, don't get hung up on vows. He said to Robbie, you turn to Randy, you say, I give up my vow. Don't let the vows hold you back, he said. Oh, he's because there's a ritual. He said, and you just do it this way. You say, I give up my vows from now. And she gives it me. Then he says, if you have still some hate, if you say, you dirty pigs, if you say pig, he said, that was the 70s. If you call those policemen pigs, if it comes in your mind to say that, then you must allow them to kill you, he said. He said, but if you can decide that for the benefit of these beings, you're going to stop those beings, you wish those beings well, and you stop them by any means necessary. I said, no, it sounds like Malcolm. Really, that sounded like Malcolm. He said, but clean, clear, pure, compassionate, not angry, not hate-filled, you stop them. If you've decided to champion these, you stop. Pig occurs to you, they have to kill you. So you have to see whether you can do anything that's helpful. By the time you go through being calm and being clear and doing all the analysis you can, then, as Shantideva says, you either know exactly what to do or you know you can't do anything. Either way, don't worry about it. That's what Shantideva says, His Holiness always. If you can change a situation, I could find it here, but, I'm paraphrasing. Then you do it. But if you can't, don't worry about it. Then you know you can't. Don't be guilty. Don't, have regrets. You do what you can. And he said, lastly, Bodhisattva vows you take not because of some future time. I always love that about it. You're active right now. You try to do the best you can. Talk about it.
I do want to go back to what you talked about this morning. The history of the Mahayana is always intriguing to me. And this idea that Nagarjuna went to southern India is a new piece of information. So if you could just elaborate a little bit on what that theory is, or talk about where the Mahayana scriptures came from.
It's not all the Mahayana scriptures.
Oh, just the
Prajnaparamita.
Yeah. Just one.
I'm trying to think of a precise source. Theories on the rise of the Mahayana in general come from people like Romala Tapar, people who are saying the Mahayanas arises with the mercantile class in India because they're on trade routes, because they could identify with good karma produces good results, and that works in the business world too, and blah, blah, blah. Or that, that the Mahayana came out of a dispute amongst the early Sangha. People are at different stages here, I don't know. 110 years after the Buddha passed away, there was a council. At these councils, people recite. It's been passed on. People recite what they think the Buddha said. People recite what rules they think, disciplinary rules they think the Buddha laid down. And then a quarrel erupted between monks who said there are some monks, maybe geographic distance or what have you, but there are some monks who seem to have fallen away from what the Buddha taught us to do. And there were 10 rules in particular that were zeroed in on. And the last couple were the serious ones. There are some monks, right? It's 110 years. There are Buddhist establishments and viharas in different places in India. They're spreading. And some being kind or saying, it may just be that we don't meet often enough, and so some are forgetting some of these rules. But some said, there are some monks amongst us. And they said monks who are doing things that the Buddha never prescribed, rule-wise. We are, for example, mendicants. We beg for our food. And yet these monks over there are keeping salt to preserve food so they don't go out every day. That's a serious downfall. All right. Well, and then they said, in addition to the salt, there are some monks who are taking or keeping gold that belongs to lay Buddhists. And that's a no-no. You're supposed to have a life of contentment and celibacy and poverty and all that stuff, right? So what they doing with the gold? Well, some of those monks say, we're establishing stupas. We're establishing centers. We're establishing for the lay ways in which the lay can feel close to the Buddha. This is the beginning of Buddhism's becoming a religion and not just a monastic order, right? Those Buddhists move closer to town. There's all sorts of... you should look at Gregory Chopin if you want to look at an anthropological ethnographer, all this kind of thing. He talks a lot about nuns, too. Interesting. So this group of monks have decided that they are going to be closer to the laity. And they do that by forming a whole cultus. They're stupas. These things arise. They weren't at the beginning, you know. Just like you saw the Buddha was represented by feet or by hands. Then there's statues. There's stupas. There's ways to worship, cultus, ways to worship. Okay. It's said that at that council, 10,000 people walked out. Probably hyperbole. But a lot of people left. And this was the beginning of what was called a sect, Mahasangikas. The Great Sangha is greater because it included the laity. It wasn't just away in the forest. So that Mahasangika became Mahayana. So that's really general, but that's the way it happened. And the other 16 sects of early Buddhism, the one that was the largest is Theravadan, and that's why when you don't want to be derogatory when you say Mahayana, Mahayana says that those ones that were left, they're Hinayanas. They're the smaller vehicle. So that's got an edge to it. So scholars and others say, just name it after the largest of the 16 schools, Theravada Mahayana. You say foundational. And so these two different wings of Buddhism began, right? And you either ascribe to one or the other. And then texts are written in one language or the other. There's a Pali canon, there's a Sanskrit canon, there's Nikayas, there's Agamas. Tika. So it's one of the stories of Nagarjuna says, Nagarjuna Konda down in South India, you know, where some say he lived 100 to be 110, some say he lives 800 years. You know, there's a magical Namtar of Nagarjuna. Whether he was the same Nagarjuna whose name is on so texts that span that kind of distance, it's probably more like it. But those texts that talk about the sort of what we would call mythic or a story of Nagarjuna talk about his going to the Nagas, the realm of the Nagas. And all I'm saying is at the time of Nagarjuna in South India, there was a whole group there was a culture of Greek wisdom folk who had invaded South India. And so since Nagarjuna Konda and the split in the head and the body is all down there, it makes sense that he might have had contact with such traditions. And man, I don't know how to say more. I could think about where to tell you to look exactly to find that information. But that's one of the ways of saying down under is saying south. So, and there are people who've argued that the reason those texts are homage to Prajapati, and that she's female is that it's connected with the wisdom cults of South India at the time. But it also makes perfectly good sense that she's feminine, doesn't it? She gives birth to all the Buddhas, right? You can't get without that wisdom, which we're going to talk about. That's the third one, right? Of the three principles of the path. Buddhas are birthed by wisdom. Right? You agree? No other way? And you think, other way? Other way? No. I think they come from wisdom. So it makes sense that the image, an image of the mother figure, and that mother is wisdom. Some of these are not that one, but some of these are my theories over the years. Decades of thinking about this.
You might be planning on getting into this later, but I was wondering, when you mentioned there are methods for enunciation, what has been most effective for you in your practice?
Did I say I practice? Gee whiz. When did that slip out? I practice? Oh, gee. Okay, I'll try to answer truthfully. I meant it when I said I don't practice, especially knowing how Lama Zopa Rinpoche practices. So I don't even claim that. But I think what it's been good is being able to see a teacher, is being able to have a relationship with the Lama. Then you see the fruits. Then you know it's possible. So it's not the for me, hasn't been the thing I'm saying that this guy's saying is the most effective, like concentrating on the sufferings of hell. I didn't spend a lot of time doing that. If I did, I'd probably give up that jag. I'm joking. I'm joking. What works for me in terms of the Lam Rim works for me because I'm older. I put on it. I started to say because I'm old. I don't expect to live another 69 years. Hence I know death is coming. But really what worked for me was meeting Lama Yeshe, meeting Lama Zopa, and having a year and a half to be at Kopan and just be in this little brick building and meditate there wholeheartedly. That was years ago. Do Vajrasattva practice, do this, practice, do this. Lama said to me once, how many, he was about to give me some instruction. He called me and he said, how many of these have you done? And when I answered him, he said, that's all? He couldn't believe it. I said, yeah, because I was trying to count. Let's see. And I told him, he said, that's all? Couldn't believe it. But he still gave it to me. He's kind. So I would say that the kinds of instruction that this book talks about and that is taught at Kopan, and I'm sure it's taught here as well. I'm sure it is. I didn't go to those courses. I had some instruction from Lama Yeshe and some other lamas, and they weren't too demanding on me. But they gave me some meditations and I did those. But what I do now is sort of get up and think, anything could happen. You better try. Better not have too many negative thoughts today. Try to do better. You light a candle every now and then, not a candle, but some incense, And you look at the pictures of Lama Yeshe and you smile and he smiles back and you say, okay, that's pretty good for today. So I don't know, did that answer your question? It's not, no, I didn't do the courses. I didn't go through the Lam Rim. I had teachers in those who trusted me to do something else. And I don't mean to brag about that. I just mean I didn't, yeah, okay.
I'm interested to know, how did you work with the pride and the humility?
I don't know. Have I worked with it? Oh, what Lama Yeshe did with me after he diagnosed me so well, pride and humility. Oh, I think I was more like Milarepa than anybody I've met. Milarepa was this, I killed 35 people. I did it because my mother said I had to, but dang, that's my karma. How in the world will I find inspiration? Oh, you're going to get me started. So I came to Lama Yeshe and my esteem was so low. I mean, where do you get pride and humility from, You want to be strong, but you're... So Lama Yeshe spent 15 years. If you don't mind, I don't mind doing this, so I blow my nose.
It's Jan, it's okay. That's normal. Everybody around here cries.
I taught last summer in Italy and Spain at Lama Yeshe Lama's Open Centers. Sometimes, and I worried each time about the topic. And if ever there were older students in the room, all we did was cry. We remembered the kindness of the world. So, for 15 years, Lama Yeshe worked on building my confidence. Yep. And he did it this way. Other people wonder, what the heck's going on? Well, he did it. He did it. We had this secret code. One day, we were talking about something, and general discussions, people were there. He said something, and I said, no. Said something, and he said, yes. Held up his hand. 5. And I said, And he said, I say one thing. This is going to sound like big. I say one thing, you think 5. And I said, I'm sorry, is that bad? Is that bad? He said, no, I mean you quick. Thereafter, wherever I was, in a group, be having discussion, Lama Yeshe would do that. That's too sweet. Just between him and me. Amazing. Gurus are amazing. Yeah. Well, do all your speakers do this? Q&A, my goodness. Woo. What's the referent of that? I had to internalize that. Confidence?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
You had to, yeah. So you must have, You must have worked something out.
Well, in between there was all this stuff about, at your core, good old tantric stuff, Buddha nature stuff, At your core, you're pure. compassionate infinitely. You have all those capabilities right now. Of course, you have to think that. You have to believe it. You have to accept it. You have to accept it. You're just all right. You're a bit of all right. Just gotta accept it. Because you are. And I guess it took after a while. I mean, I was slow. Heck, it took 15 years. I was slow. But Lama she came to my house once, last story, I think. Lama she came to my house. By then I was past grad school, and I had a job for the first time, and I came to Nepal, and I had a house, and I had a yard man, and I had a cook. And Lama Yeshe loved the house. He loved coming down from Kopan with all the monks hanging off the jeep, and they'd come in, and Lama Yeshe would then give them a tour of the house. And this is her room, and that's my room, and Kanchi, he called my cook, Kanchi, I want kalo dao, and Kanchi melt. Oh yes. No. But once Lama Yeshe came to the house, and see if you think this is abuse, I don't. But Lama Yeshe came to the house and he said, tonight at Kopan, I'm giving a lecture. This is the subject, and I want to do it in Sanskrit with all the Sanskrit terminologies. Prepare it. I'll be back in 2 hours. I thought, Lama Yeshe, you want me to write a lecture you're going to give? A lecture for you? And he said, yes, 2 hours. And off he went. And I was panicked. But then I got to work. And he came, swung by, got that thing, and off he went. So it was like giving you confidence there, too. I look at you and I want to cry because you're crying. Bless your heart. Oh, these compassionate, sweet people. Yeah. I hope you come tomorrow. I'll get it together.
When the Dharma starts to work on our minds, it really does, it has to break that cold heart, that closed down heart, that scared heart, that insecure heart open. And if we have the good fortune of having teachers in our life, and we're even willing to listen to half of what they say, we're going to have to do that. And it might be a heart of insecurity, it might be a heart of pride, it might be a heart of despondency or arrogance or whatever. But the Dharma is that powerful that if you meet it even halfway, but you're going to my experience is that you have to be willing to break open that to be able to, because the Dharma is so big, it's so vast, it's so transformative that the mind has to change. It has to open up to be able to let it in. And some of our teachers, for the more stubborn types, the more deluded types, that's what they do, but you gotta do it. You gotta get in there and just, yeah.
I think one of the things that's so remarkable is that teachers, genuine teachers, have a way of knowing exactly what we need. I needed confidence. And as much as I'm smart, I'm this. She knew what I needed. Now, Rabina. Bina, or whatever Bina says. I'm going to do. But Rabina said to me, I read that stuff you said about Mahayana, and I could almost not believe it. I said, why, Rabina? She said, because Mahayana never said a kind word to me. And she followed that up with, and that was exactly what I needed. I was amazed, how difficult that must have been for him. But that was exactly what she needed. That's what she says.
I just wanted to thank you for sharing today. For me, it's brought a lot together in many different areas. The last years, I took care of a very difficult mother. And there were many times when I thought she was a bad friend, in the Buddhist sense. And for me, it was a choice, and a choice that there wasn't anything else that I could do but do my best for her last years and, her death. So I think for me, it just seems like it's a complicated issue, the things we've been talking about. And I think that we have to find our own answers on our own path, because no one could really give me the answer. I mean, I don't know Lama Yeshe, I didn't know. But I see we all struggle.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like there has to be enough fortitude within us to struggle and find the right decisions. And it doesn't come easy. But I think that if we can make it on the other side just a little bit, we see it's well worth it. Because I listened to your story, it wasn't easy. And I think sometimes we look at our voyage with the Buddha and the Dharma as we're going to find the way tonight, and then it's all going to be smooth sailing. And it's not, and it's not an easy journey, but it's a worthwhile journey. And especially when we get to come together and share like this, that's what makes it, that's what cements it, that's what makes it real. But thank you for sharing, for feeling, for all that you've brought to us. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I didn't feel like I couldn't cry. Thank you. It's the first noble truth. There is suffering. Buddha never said life is suffering. He spoke the language. He could have said that if he wanted to say that. I feel discouraged when I see textbooks where it said that the Buddha taught life is suffering. If he had wanted to say that, he would have said, Jivam evam dukkha. What is life? That is suffering. But he didn't. He said dukkha. There is suffering. It's true. It wasn't as pessimistic as some college textbooks make it. But it is true that there is suffering. And we all know it. Shantideva says, it's all of a piece. That's the thing. It's not my suffering. You have your other suffering. There is suffering, and it's all of a piece. We got to do something about this. These people who don't have health care, all the suffering that's there is connected. That's the next step to move on. Once you see it, you must act. Thank you.